What's going on YouTube? Today I bring you my number 28 power ranked team for the 2021 NFL season. Is as you saw by the title, that is the Atlanta Falcons. And so today we're going to be going over their roster, their schedule, and why I think they're the number 28 ranked team in the NFL to me. So we have our lads up here. I stopped with the whole kind of my own visual thing. It's just quicker and easier, but so with our lads is good to use. So starting off, we're just going to move down the list. Obviously, we're not starting with quarterback and stuff now, but it's just easier to follow is all. Wide receiver position. It's an interesting position here for the Falcons because it's not very good. There are some interesting players here. I mean, obviously, Calvin Ridley is, I think in that second tier of receivers, along with like the Gallaudays and the Robinsons and stuff. To where I wouldn't quite consider him, obviously, an elite receiver yet, but he is a great one. I believe Calvin Ridley is already 26 or 27, if I'm not mistaken, so he is kind of up there in age already, which isn't, like, the best thing in the world, because, yeah, he's a great receiver, but I feel like at the same time, he's probably already near his prime if he's not in it already. And so, you pretty much, you know what you're getting from Ridley at this point. You're not going to get much more of a better receiver than you have right now, which is obviously still a good receiver, but there's not really that upside. The number 2 on this team is probably going to be Russell Gage, I'd imagine. He showed some flashes last year, but I don't know how he's going to handle being a number 2. And something that the Falcons could legit do is move Kyle Pitts to receiver. I talked about it time and time again through the draft process that Kyle Pitts was so much more than a tight end to where he could legit play receiver and be like a Calvin Johnson type player, just bigger and even more physical. Because the Falcons have a very deep tight end room. You look and they already have Hayden Hurst and Lee Smith. Hayden Hurst being a pretty solid catcher and Lee Smith is a pretty solid blocker. So I think they can really move Kyle Pitts to receiver if they want. That might benefit the entire team, and he can be that number 2 probably to start off, but I mean he could be the number 1. Honestly, he's that kind of a guy. Christian Blake, he's I think he'd be fine enough as a depth piece, but he's probably starting for them. Olamide Zaccheaus has shown kind of flashes at times. Tajaye Sharp is a nice pickup too. I mean, he's a solid depth guy, but like overall, this receiver room could be a lot better. There are a few pieces there, obviously. Like I said, you move Kyle Pitts there, it instantly gets much, much better. For right now, I think I'm going to give this receiver room a C+. Again, you know what you're getting with Ridley. Although he is a great receiver, the rest of the depth is just pretty poor. So I'm going to give that a C+ there. Left tackle room, Jake Matthews and Matt Gano. I like this room. Jake Matthews is kind of also in that like second, maybe third tier of tackles. I don't care about my PC. Sorry. I do care about my PC. There's a message in the corner. I don't know if you guys saw that, but yeah, so Jake Matthews in the second, kind of third tier for tackles. He's a solid guy. And then Matt Gano is actually a pretty solid backup. So I'm going to give that a B here for the Falcons. Jake Matthews isn't anyone special, obviously, but, he's a solid starter and they have a solid backup behind him. So I'm going to give that a B there. Left guard. I'd probably imagine Jalen Mayfield is starting over Willie Wright. Even though I was not a big fan of Mayfield coming out, I definitely feel like he would start. And I feel like he's still probably better than Willie Wright to start out, but we'll have to see. But, I still don't like Jalen Mayfield all that much, as I just said. They have 2 rookies behind those 2 guys. So I'm going to give this room a D+ for right now. I'm just not a big fan of Mayfield. I think he'll play better at guard than he did at tackle, but I don't know how much better it's going to be. And Willie Wright is, fine. He should not be starting for sure. As a backup, he's whatever. But the center room, Matt Hennessy. And then, Sam Jones is a serviceable enough guy, but maybe they have Drew Dahlman behind him. Matt Hennessy, he's a pretty good center. I wouldn't quite consider him, solid. I think he's just under, that solid. But, Sam Jones is a decent backup. They've got a nice rookie behind him. So I'm going to give it a C-. It's not quite as bad as their left guard room, just because, again, I think Hennessy's a bit better than Mayfield, and they've got some nice depth, actually, and a nice young player. So, right guard, we're looking at Chris Lindstrom. Really no one behind him, but Chris Lindstrom has been a pretty good guard ever since coming into the league. Just because, again, he's still not, I wouldn't consider him quite a solid guy, and the depth is lacking. I'm going to give it a C- as well. But, it could definitely be worse, and I still do think Lindstrom has some some potential to work on. So, right tackle, we have Caleb McGarry with Willie Beavers behind him. This is a pretty solid room. McGarry, one of the more underrated guys in my opinion. I still don't think he's like second or third tier, but I do think people don't give him quite as much credit as he deserves. And then Willie Beavers is also a solid backup. So I'm going to give this room here a C+. Again, could be a lot better, but definitely could be a lot worse. But overall, this Falcons offensive line is actually it's really decent. Jake Matthews, easily the best player on the line, and even then, he's just a solid guy. But really, no true holes across the board. So overall, it's a pretty solid offensive line. It'll definitely help. But it's all been kind of decent so far is really what it is. Like, this offense, unfortunately, is too decent for the defense that they have, and we'll get to the defense later, obviously. But tight end room, like I said, you can move Kyle Pitts over to receiver. I think that might benefit the entire team after trading Julio. But like, as it stands right now at tight end, I have my tight end rankings up on the channel, and I have Kyle Pitts as my 4th ranked tight end in the NFL already. I say what you want, but Kyle Pitts I believe is the most talented player out of this year's draft class. And that's considering we had Penei Sewell, Jalen Phillips, Trevor Lawrence. Like, Kyle Pitts, I legitimately believe has a good chance to go down as the best tight end of all time. But I think pretty easily he'll go down as a top 10. He is just that extremely talented. So, I think there could have been better picks for the Falcons. I was a big believer in picking a quarterback, regardless of whether it was Lance or Fields. But, Kyle Pitts, obviously still a fantastic player to have. Hayden Hurst, very solid. He's probably the best backup tight end in the NFL. And then Lee Smith is probably the best number 3 tight end in the NFL. Pitts, an extremely good all-around tight end. Hurst, a great catcher. Smith, a good blocker. I got to give this tight end room an A. The rest of the offense has been extremely decent, but this tight end room, there's no way you can argue. This is probably the best tight end room in the NFL. It's just fantastic. So, quarterback, Matt Ryan. Here's where some of the disagreement is going to come in for sure. I believe Matt Ryan's been overhyped ever since his MVP win. His MVP season was a great season, but he is not. I just don't feel like he's been as good as people say he is. I still think he's a top 16 quarterback. In fact, I have him probably like 14, 15, maybe 16 to me. I don't think he's bad, but I think people have majorly overrated him for a majority of his career. The stats are good, yes, but that's because, this offense has always been just sling it because their defense has been so horrible. They have to keep up. I don't see that from him anymore. He's getting older. I don't believe he'll get better with age like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers. So there's just not a lot of reason for me to like him that much, which definitely brings down the value of this entire offense. AJ McCarron as a backup is whatever. He's one of the lesser good backups in the NFL. And then Felipe Franks, I was not a big fan of at all coming out of Arkansas. I do not think he should have been drafted, let alone picked up. So, yeah, overall, I think I'm going to give this room a C. Obviously, again, Matt Ryan is still one of the, top 16 quarterbacks in the NFL, but he has a bad backup and a horrible... I don't think Felipe Franks is going to be literally anything. So, I'm surprised he hasn't been cut yet, to be honest. So, it's a C for me. Maybe you disagree. I don't know. But I don't think Matt Ryan has... I don't think he's been as good as people really think he is. The numbers are great, but... And again, he's not a bad. I'm not calling him bad. I just don't think he's, as great as everyone says. So it's going to be a C here for me. Running back room. This is a pretty good room, too, actually. Mike Davis... was fantastic for the Panthers last year. There was almost no difference from Mike Davis and Christian McCaffrey, and that's considering how good Christian McCaffrey is. Mike Davis was fantastic for them. He wasn't quite as good as McCaffrey, but again, they still pretty much had the same record, even without their best player and one of the best in the league, because Mike Davis just took over and played fantastic. So I'm excited to see what he does in this Falcons offense. Cordell Patterson, I don't feel like he's going to get a ton of snaps because, obviously he's a return guy, but be that he's the best return guy in the NFL, and I will fight you on that, but there's no one that even comes close to Cordell Patterson. The guy that I do think is going to get majority of second snaps is going to be Javian Hawkins. I liked him coming out of Louisville, I believe it was, but I feel like if I'm remembering correct, he went undrafted, which I feel was ridiculous. Although there were a fair amount of guys that fell and went undrafted and stuff, but I think Javian Hawkins could be a guy that after this year looks like the future of the Falcons. If I'm right and he was undrafted, he could be the next Philip Lindsay, James Robinson. I think that's this guy this year. So Javian Hawkins, I like him as the backup, and I think he could be the future. So really no one else to talk about in the running room, though. And then Keith Smith, their fullback, one of the best fullbacks in the NFL. I mean, simple as that. So but the offense, like it's decent across the board. Defense here. Oh boy, where do we start? Well, from the top. Starting off with like their left end room, it's bad. It's really bad. Jacob Tuati Mariner. I'm gonna be honest, never heard of him. I mean, I've heard of him just because like he's the Falcons starter right now. But God, really, I mean, look at this left end room. Jonathan Bullard, who's that? I mean, Taquan Graham. I didn't look at him at all coming out of college. I mean, this is just a bad room. Like, there's someone over here. Hold on, the screen's a little too zoomed in. Kobe Jones, like, I don't know who that is. Like, this is a horrible left end. This is an F. Like, there's no one here that's even serviceable in my opinion. You have this guy starting for you, it's bad. Defensive tackle, much better. Grady Jarrett has been one of the best, most consistent, especially run stuffers, but also pass rushers of the last couple years. So he's great to have there, to make up for this. Your number two, I think your number two is probably going to be Marlon Davidson. I liked him a lot coming out of college. I think he'll probably be starting over Tyler Davidson, who's also, he's pretty solid. John Atkins is a serviceable backup, so it's much better than the left end room. I'm gonna give this an A-. I don't think Grady Jarrett is quite like one of those elite top guys, but he is pretty great, and there is pretty good depth here, so that's gonna get an A-. That's like the only really good grades you're gonna see out of this entire defense. Right end room, Dante Fowler. I mean, it's Dante Fowler. Like, I don't really need to say more. He's a big name that has never done anything in his career. So, I don't know why they brought Bycavius Mingo as a defensive end. He's going to be a linebacker for them. So I don't know why he's here. Your backup really is going to be probably Steven Means or Ogundeji. I still can't say his name. This was a solid pickup for them. I think he's a really nice scheme fit in the Falcons defense. And Steven Means is a fine enough guy too. Like I said, like this is still much better than this, but it's still like So I'm gonna give it a C+ because I do like the upside with Ogundeji. And Fowler again obviously isn't like as bad as these guys, but again, I don't know why Mingo's being listed as a defensive end here, but yeah, I'm gonna give a C+ to this right end room. Linebacker number. We'll just go the entire linebacker because it's the same for them basically. Just make sure to throw Mingo in here with them. This is a very good linebacking core. They upgraded big time. With like Brandon Copeland especially. Mingo is also an upgrade as well, but like bringing Brandon Copeland in, who is probably going to be a backup for them. I mean, that's some fantastic depth to add there if he's not starting. So that's a great pickup for them. Deion Jones, obviously, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. The dude's been great for a long time now. Foycedo Lakun is one of the better pass coverage guys in the NFL. Beyond that, he's not really anything special, but like as a pass coverage guy, he is a fantastic player to have on that linebacker core. Again, Brandon Copeland, a great player to have. Mingo is great depth. Mikael Walker is great depth. I like the pickup for like the potential of Etheridge. So overall, like this linebacker room, it improved big time. Deion Jones, again, is one of those guys where I don't feel like he's in that like elite top tier conversation, but he is still pretty solid, and the depth is really good here. So I'm going to give a B+, right on the brink of that A. But again, like it's this, and it's the defensive tackle in the linebacker room that's good on this defense, and pretty much nothing else. Quarterback. So your starting guy is AJ Terrell, who I wasn't a big fan of coming out of college. He has potential to, eventually be something someday, but I just don't really see it from him. So him being your number one, not very good. Your number two is probably going to be Isaiah Oliver, who again is just not very good. Sheffield I think would be serviceable as a backup, but shouldn't be starting. I feel like Darren Hall was a big reach, huge reach. Fabian Moreau I do like, but like again, he shouldn't be starting. Beyond that, you've got really nothing else. It's a bad cornerback room, and it still needs a lot of help. I think corner should have been like the other considerate pick. I thought that potentially like trading down, and then grabbing like a Surtain or a JC Horn would have been the best move for this Falcons team, to be honest, especially since they're trying to compete right now, even though they traded away Julio Jones, which still makes no sense to me. But the quarterback room, it's pretty bad. Like, I think the upside on some of these guys saves it from an F, but it's still going to be a D- for me here because it's bad. Depth is good, but there's no one here for you, so it's going to be a D- for me. Strong safety. Eric Harris, I mean, and Daron Harmon, either one of these guys could start. I think I favored Harmon a bit over Harris to start in that situation, but it could be either one. You know, they're both pretty decent safeties. Some young guys here, but I've never really heard of them. I think Harris and Harmon make up a good enough duo. I'm going to give a C+. Again, one goes down, you have a pretty good backup that pretty much on the same skill level as the other, so yeah, I mean, it's a fine enough room. Free safety, I feel like they'll start Richie Grant. I actually, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I really like Richie Grant. I don't remember where I had him on my safety rankings for the draft class, but looking back on it now, he'd probably be a lot higher because, again, just the more I think about it, I love this fit on the Falcons team. I love Richie Grant himself. Like, I feel like he could be starting and could be kind of one of that Jeremy Chin surprise this year. So keep an eye on Richie Grant because I really like him. But Jalen Hawkins also a pretty serviceable backup. So even if he starts, still pretty good. So I'm gonna give it same grade, C+. I don't think either of these guys are as good as Harris and Harmon, but just the fact that they're both super young, they're great scheme fits. I love Richie Grant at this point. The upside, I'm gonna give it a C+ as well for right now. So the defense, not looking very good. There are some bright spots, but it's really more about the future than anything with those bright spots. Special teams, you have it's Young Waku. I've been calling him Young Hoku. I might just continue to call him that, but it'd probably be disrespectful. So Young Waku, I'm sorry if it was a disrespectful thing, me calling him the other thing. Yeah, he kind of, showed out as one of the better kickers in the NFL last year. So he looks to be, probably a really good kicker for years to come. And then Sterling Hoffrichter, I just never really paid attention to the depth of punters. I know Hecker, Kern, I know a few punters, but I've never heard of Hoffrichter, so whatever. But special teams overall, I don't know why they have Avery Williams here. You have Cordell Patterson returning kicks for you, who again is the best kick returner in the NFL, easily in my opinion. So you have one of the better kickers, the best kick returner. I'm sure Hoffrichter isn't that bad of a punter unless he is. Let me know, Falcons fans. But overall, this special team's great. It's going to get an A. It's one of the best special teams in the NFL. If you want to talk about actual special teams in terms of kicking the ball off and then making the tackles and stuff, they can improve a little bit, which is why I'm going to give it an A- for that. But it is still a very, very good room when it comes to just the actual players. So going to get an A- for me. And so let's go take a look at their schedule. Yeah, and I mean, looking at their schedule, it's pretty up and down. It's compared to some of these other guys, it's definitely not as difficult. I mean, you start out against the Eagles, which is going to be it would normally be an easy game, but with given how much the Falcons like to give up leads and just again how bad their team is in general, it's a toss up there. Buccaneers, that's a loss. Giants, it's a toss up. Washington, that's a loss. Jets, I mean, probably a loss. You have some easy games here, like the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Panthers again, the Lions. And again, these aren't necessarily easy teams or easy games because, again, the Falcons themselves kind of suck. Especially if you're going up against a high-powered offense. So we're talking about, the Bills, the Buccaneers twice, the Cowboys. Those will be games of shootouts. But I feel like at the end of the day, those games are going to pretty easily not go to the Falcons because their defense is so god-awful. So I just feel this is an offense-central league nowadays, but you need some sort of defense. Some sort of defense. And this defense, it's just god-awful for the Falcons. I'm sorry, Falcons fans. I know you're you think you're going to be good. I know you love Matty Ice and all this stuff, but there's too much wrong with this team to where you're going to be competing this year. Like, you're just not. I liked the Arthur Smith hiring, but I'm not sure what kind of culture exactly he's going to bring to this Falcons team. I don't understand their direction. I don't understand drafting a receiver to try to win now, to then only trade Julio when it wasn't a trade demand, it was a trade request. Like, if what we're hearing is true, that it was a trade request, you were not forced to trade him. He just asked to be out. Like, so, I feel like if you had that chance to keep him and still try to win now, why would you trade him? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand if this team's trying to win now. I don't understand if they're building for the future. They're showing signs of both. I don't know if there's confusion in the front office. Like, it doesn't seem like they know what they want to do. Like, you're coming into the season with an aging quarterback, no plan of the future with quarterback after being down at 4. Like, because realistically, they're probably not going to be picking as high as 4 again. Like, last year was an extremely rare case for this team where they were picking so high. They could be picking in the same spot, but I kind of predict they will, but they might not. And so it's like, at that point, are you going to get your quarterback of the future now, even though you still suck? Like, there's so many holes still everywhere. Like, again, the defense just, I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see what the culture is. I don't see what the plan is. I don't see the future. I don't even see it this year. So overall, all of that combined, it's going to bring the Falcons down to 28 for me. They have some extremely talented players. They have some great positions on this team. I mean, even on the defense, you saw the defensive tackle room and the linebacker room was actually really good. The rest it was just so bad. But that is going to be my 2021 analysis for the Atlanta Falcons, number 28 team. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Comment down below how you think the Falcons are going to do this year. Next up, we'll have our number 27 ranked team coming out tomorrow. Stay tuned to see who that is. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.